She wasn't loud by nature. That's why when it happened, the whole church froze. Everybody knew her as the calm one, faithful, consistent, the type who didn't miss service, didn't miss choir rehearsal, didn't miss prayer meeting. If the church doors opened, she was there, modest dress, Bible worn at the edges, smile gentle but never showy. The kind of sister people described as solid. Years before, she had walked down that same aisle in white, not flashy white, simple white. Her maid of honor stood right beside her that day, her closest friend. Not just a church friend, life friend. The one who knew the private prayers, the late-night tears, the fasting days, the hope she carried about marriage. They had grown in the faith together, served together, cried together, called each other sister before blood ever entered the sentence. Nobody in that wedding photo would have guessed how the story would twist. The marriage didn't break overnight. It cracked quietly. Small changes first, tone changes, distance, irritation where patience used to be. She thought it was stress, thought it was finances, thought it was spiritual attack. Because when you're committed, you don't suspect betrayal first. You suspect pressure. Then came the confirmation. Not rumor, not suspicion. Fact. The kind that removes breath from your lungs and replaces it with heat behind your eyes. Her husband and her maid of honor. Not emotional closeness, not misunderstanding. A relationship, ongoing. People always imagine scenes when they hear stories like this. Screaming, confrontation, dramatic exits. But real heartbreak is often quiet first. It's sitting on the edge of a bed, unable to process how your safest circle became the place of injury. She didn't expose them, not then. She didn't run to the church board, didn't gather allies. She withdrew, stopped testifying, stopped singing specials. Still attended, but like someone sitting in the back row of her own life. They eventually left the congregation, the husband and the friend. Different church now, different environment, different story being told about themselves, no doubt. Life kept moving publicly, but privately, she carried a wound that had no bandage. Years passed. She never remarried, not because she hated men, not because she hated marriage, but betrayal rearranges how trust sits inside the body. Some people recover fast. Some people recover slow. Some forgive, but their nervous system never forgets. And forgiveness, real forgiveness, was her private work. Not Instagram forgiveness, not microphone forgiveness. The kind you wrestle through alone with God because if you don't, bitterness will eat your sleep alive. Then came the Sunday. Nothing special about the service lineup. Regular order. Hymns, scripture reading, choir selection. Pastor preaching about endurance, which, in hindsight, felt almost too aligned. No one knew that morning had already been heavy for her. Some anniversaries don't show on calendars. They show in the chest. Something about the message pressed against a sealed place inside her. Before she fully decided to stand, she was already on her feet. Not shouting, not trembling, just standing. The congregation turned slowly, because she wasn't known for interruptions. Her voice, when it came, wasn't angry. It was wounded tired. The kind of tired that comes from carrying something too long. She said she needed to speak. Just a minute. And in plain words, no theatrics, she said that years ago her closest friend, who stood as her maid of honor, took her husband. She said she had kept silent. She said she forgave them. She said she is still healing. And she said sometimes people sit beside you in church carrying pain you cannot see, so be kind. Then she sat down. No applause, no gasp, just stunned stillness. The pastor didn't dramatize it, didn't interrogate it. He simply prayed. Some people were uncomfortable, because truth in public spaces makes people nervous. Some were compassionate, some were confused. A few quietly judged the moment itself, not the wound behind it. That's how crowds are. But something shifted in her after that day. Not because she exposed them, she didn't name them, didn't shame them. She released the weight of secrecy. And sometimes healing begins not when the offender apologizes, but when the injured stops hiding the injury. Forgiveness is often misunderstood. People think forgiveness means the pain disappears. It doesn't. Forgiveness means you stop feeding the revenge story in your mind. It means you give God the courtroom. But scars still exist where the cut happened. She still has moments, certain songs, certain scriptures, certain wedding sermons that tighten her throat. Forgiveness did not erase memory. It removed poison. And here's the part people don't like to admit. The husband walks freely, lives his life, smiles in photos, acts unchanged. That bothers observers more than it bothers her now. Because once you release someone to God, you stop tracking their consequences. They don't attend the same church anymore, not out of war, but wisdom. Distance is sometimes part of forgiveness. Reconciliation and forgiveness are not twins, they are cousins. You can forgive without restoring access. She serves again now, quieter role, different department, not center stage, but faithful, softer, more compassionate toward people who sit alone, because she knows some silence is survival. If you met her today, you might call her reserved, gentle, maybe even too guarded. You would not immediately see the history behind her eyes. And that's the point. People sit beside us carrying invisible chapters. The loud brother may be lonely. The strict sister may be afraid. The cheerful couple may be fractured. The quiet woman may have survived betrayal from her inner circle. We don't know. Sometimes when people speak out unexpectedly, it's not rebellion. It's rupture, a soul reaching for air. And sometimes that moment, awkward as it feels to everyone else, becomes the doorway to their healing. Forgiveness is not pretending it didn't hurt. Forgiveness is saying, it did, but it will not own me anymore. Some people live with pain longer than they live with the people who caused it. That's why gentleness matters, respect matters, patience matters, because you don't know who is worshiping through a wound.